and get up. Now that's done, now that's done. Get up and get up. and get up. Now that's done. Now that's done. Get up and get up.
Hello, my name is Tucker Johnson, and I am your host today as we experience Nimdzi Live, where we talk about the latest and greatest in translation, localization, internationalization, culturalization, and all that fun stuff global companies need to delight their international customers, or at least not to piss them off too much. On this program, we invite guests who like to have fun and have some value to add for our audience of globalization professionals. I'm always eager to provide a platform to those with a good story or a good data set. So let us know if there are any topics you'd like covered or guests we should reach out to for future episodes. If you haven't already done so, make sure that you are subscribed to Nimdzi Insights. If you subscribe to Nimdzi Insights, then you will be one of the first people to know when we go live or when we schedule new live streams so that you can sign up for notifications. You'll also be one of the first people to know when we publish new industry research. We're a market research and consulting company specializing in the language services industry. Before we get started today, just a quick plug. I wanted to give a shout out to Multilingual Magazine, our sister company here. If you're not familiar with Multilingual Magazine, well, then you should be. I can't pull it up on screen right now because it's not working, but multilingual.com. They have a online news, daily news about the language services industry, as well as the industry's only print magazine. So you can sign up to be a subscriber and receive a copy directly to your mailbox every month. They also offer podcasts. Localization Today is the name of the podcast. If you are a podcast person rather than a reading person, you can catch up in short news segments delivered directly to your podcast platform of choice every single day to make sure that you're keeping up with the industry. Well, without further ado, let's get right into it today. Today, we are talking about AI. What else? One of our favorite topics here as of late on Nimdzi Live. So today we're diving into the uncharted territory with Innovation Manager Marta Castello from Creative Words. Have you ever wondered how AI and human expertise can seamlessly coexist? Marta will unveil the Human Approved certification, a game changer in responsible AI integration for language-related activities. really quickly about Marta before I turn the mic over to you. Marta is a graduate in translation and interpretation. She took her first steps into the tech world quite casually when she moved to Lisbon in 2019. Since 2022, she has held the role of operations manager in the startup Creative AI, which deals with data or artificial intelligence, and thus comes into contact with the reality of creative words. CW ready to interrupt. I'm sorry. Thus comes into contact. My teleprompter's going buggy today. The reality that creative words ready to entrust her in 2023 with the role of innovation manager. This new challenge allows her to give her creativity and tireless curiosity space. Marta, welcome to Nimdzi Live.
Thank you so much, Tucker. Hi, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. We were just talking earlier. You're a podcast veteran. This is your second live stream.
Exactly.
So pretty soon you're gonna have to invest in a
experience.
fancy microphone like this, you know.
Next
And
time will be.
Maybe I can be the first guest on your podcast.
Please do,
when you start
please do.
it.
I'll keep that in mind.
Well, today we're talking about human approved certification. And well, you know, before we go in there,
Yeah.
we know creative words. We love creative words, right? We've heard of creative
That's good.
AI. Right. Tell us a little bit about the evolution and for the sake of the audience here. Who is Creative Words? What is creative AI? What is the relationship between those two? And maybe just give us a little bit of background about that.
For sure. We are Creative Words, a language service provider based in Italy. And our core business has been translation since the very beginning and linguistic services. When was it? A couple of years ago, Diego, our CEO, founded Creative AI, a startup that had to deal with data for artificial intelligence. So that's where I worked as operations manager. And what we did was basically collecting, creating, and annotating data for AI systems. So there I understood the importance, it came to me quite clear how important it is to work with ethically and consciously and transparently with AI systems. If you think about it, like humans learn from book and machines learn from data. So we must be totally aware and trustful towards our capacity, towards our knowledge and towards our expertise in this sense. So what happened then? We were like the startup and Creative Words were actually in the same office. So I have been within the world of Creative Words since the very beginning. And then due to some organizational bureaucratic reasons, Creative AI got merged into Creative Words at the beginning of the summer this year. And this is when me and the other person, our workflow automation engineer at the moment, who worked with me in Creative AI, we were brought into Creative Words and we gave birth to the Innovation Lab. The Innovation Lab now it's made up of 5 people, me included. And what we do is basically we work with artificial intelligence and language services, trying to understand how to better optimize and integrate technology in our standard workflows. So we investigate generative AI mainly, but we investigate generative AI and how it can bring benefits to services that we usually have, that we have been offering until now. But it's not only limited to AI. We work to make our processes leaner and to optimize everything that we do using technology. I don't know if that was a
That is one hell of an elevator pitch. That answered all my questions and more. And it's good because I see Diego in chat, so he's watching closely. He's taking notes to make sure you hit all of those SEO keywords. So great, thank you. That provides a nice background about what creative words and creative AI. And seriously, what better time than to start a company? I remember when Diego first started Creative AI out. I was like, okay, that's fun.
Pandemic.
We all got to have our own pet project, but brilliant move because 2023 has been the year of AI. I have a joke on this podcast, kind of an ongoing joke about how long can we last in each podcast before someone brings up AI, and it's usually not very long, right? And
Here we decided to bring it on the table
yeah,
straight up.
exactly.
Like,
So I don't
we
know.
didn't even bet on it.
Didn't even need to set a timer today. So, a lot of concerns about AI, and I use the word concerns just because we are, we're kind of a worrisome industry sometimes, and there's a lot of concerns about AI out there. And maybe I can ask you, what are some of the top concerns that you've heard? Because that's kind of what we're addressing today, this human approved concept. What are some of the top concerns that you've heard from people in the industry, whether those are translators, business owners, client side folks? Can you give us a
You know,
summary of that?
for sure. Well, when I talk about AI with potential clients, already existing clients, competitors, colleagues, AI always brings with itself a sort of an idea, an aura of threat. It seems always that AI is the evil part
Hmm.
of the story,
Right?
And we can agree on that. I mean, as everything, I just think that what we have to do is to understand how to use it, and that's the main concern of the human approved seal. Because concerns in the industry specifically, well, we must, I think, make a distinction between the concerns of the linguistic professionals, that is like translators or linguists at large, and the concerns about business owners or
Right.
other people in the business, So translators, no, let's start from the business owners, actually.
Okay.
Business owners, I think that there is this sort of wall when we talk about technology in a humanistic sector, like in the humanistic field, such that of languages. It's easy to talk about technology when we talk about something scientific, but when it comes down to natural language, for instance, technology is not always seen as going hand in hand. So there is this sort of wall that I truly do not quite fully understand.
I think a lot of it just goes. I mean, I think a lot of it just as simple as humans don't like change, or we're afraid of change. I should say
Absolutely.
we're kind of afraid of new innovation, and we could have a whole podcast about what's driving those fears. But at the end of the day, especially I'm a business owner, right? And you work hard to build a model and a business model that works. You build your supply chain, vendor relationships, you build your client relationships and your portfolio, your technology, and all of that stuff. And I don't want to change. I just want to keep going, plugging along, right? And then something like generative AI comes in, and it's like, oh, now I have to adapt to this, right?
But you said it correctly. You have to adapt to it.
Yeah.
Like technology makes it cursed.
You don't have to like it.
It makes it,
but you have to
yeah,
do
you don't
it.
have to like it. You just have to do it.
Yeah,
Like, you might
exactly.
as well embrace it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that by resisting it and by refraining from using it or accepting it, we can stop the flow
Right.
of change, So we might as well just be, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're
No,
on a
I'm
roll.
curious.
No,
I'm curious.
I was going to say, but there are in our industry, there are factions that try to that are very resistant to change, right? And we see that. I see that a lot, and I think of like regulations, associations lobbying for regulations and whatnot, right? And I want to be very careful because I have immense respect for the associations and the lobbyists and the people pushing to make sure that language and technology is used responsibly, right? So I got that out of the way. You hear me? So don't clip me out of context here. But on sometimes, you start to see regulations being pushed that prevent innovation just be out of fear. And I think that's the problem with that is that I think regulations and education and all of that stuff, it kind of falls 2 or 3 years behind the actual innovation. And with something like generative AI, it's evolving so quickly. I think regulations and standards. Instead of saying regulations, let's talk about standards, right? The standards are always going to be struggling to catch up with them, right?
That that's actually the reason behind the human
Eli, I
approved.
set you up for
This
that,
is
right? I set
yeah,
you up for that.
absolutely. You put it there like on a silver plate.
Yeah.
No, but jokes apart, this is exactly where like the root reason we not the root reason, but this is actually what brought us to have the idea about the human approved. Concerning the fears and the concerns that we were mentioning before, I've had the chance to chat with, as I was mentioning, clients, potential clients, and competitors and colleagues. And I broke my head into trying to understand why are people so reluctant towards change and towards AI and towards technology. Why, like, there must be a reason, because otherwise it makes no sense. Because I mean, one can also be not so open-minded, like open-minded in a behavioral way, you know, like I don't want to say that people are not open-minded, but like can be more can be more fearful. But
risk
again,
adverse. Let's just
say it again.
Risk adverse.
Exactly. Risk adverse. But if you think about it rationally, and fear is not rational. So here it's like, I think this is the game changer.
Except
if
for
you
spiders.
Think about...
Fear of spiders is rational. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Keep going.
And of bugs in general. But if you think about it rationally, it goes back to what we were saying before. You must embrace it, especially if you work in a field that is so much that have been so much impacted by the publicity of generative AI. I mean, people were given this enormous and very, very powerful and at the same time risky tool from one day to another. And we in the field, in the sector, in the linguistic sector, we had to find our own ways to, let's say, survive without or maybe it's better to say not surrender. It was just like finding ways to show how a company made of humans can bring value compared to a free tool online. Yeah. Because this is actually, I've had the chance to participate and take part to conferences during the past months, and you have no idea how many times people have approached me asking, okay, yeah, well, what do you do? We provide linguistic services. And people were like, well, you know, I don't need that. I use ChatGPT to do that. And that like breaks my heart. But at the same time, it gives me also hope, because it makes me understand even more that what we are trying to achieve is like makes a lot of sense. And that's the main reason behind the human approved seal. Yeah, I would say.
So it's essentially not merging, but how do we leverage? Because language, and this is the conversation, it's been going on ever since the invention of translation memories and then machine translation, neural machine translation. Now it's generative AI, right? And the question is, language is inherently human, right? It is language is all about humans communicating with humans. And the thesis to date has been it will either never be replaced by technology completely, or it will be one of the very last things to be replaced by technology, because language is constantly evolving. It's nuanced. It's just very hard to put into the hands of a machine, right? Now, that having been said, technology is coming. So how do we make sure that we are leveraging the technology while still maintaining the human touch and the human approach. And that's something that we've been talking about for a long time with machine translation and, machine translation, post editing is, we've all heard the term human quality machine translation, post editing, right? So that's where you'd have a machine translated text, and then it's post edited up to a human value or a human quality level, right?
Yeah.
And one of my most interesting questions, I think, that I struggle with is, what is human quality, right? Because humans make mistakes too, right? And it becomes a really interesting conversation about human quality versus machine translation quality, because you can have a machine translation generated text that's technically very accurate, but still lacks that human approved, let's just say, touch to it.
Absolutely, absolutely interesting. Actually, what is human quality? When like the first thing that comes to my mind when like to answer such question is I think about natural language. Like human quality.
What is natural language? We've used that term several times now. So natural language, what do you mean by that? Is that a technical term, or are we just talking about natural language?
No. In this in this moment, I'm just talking about the language that naturally
Okay.
that naturally is produced by human beings. But this is exactly it. I mean, machine learning algorithms do not make up their own language. They're fed linguistic data, and linguistic data has been created by human beings. So it's totally sensible to think that the output of a generative AI tool is actually kind of like native-like, because it was trained on native or at least natural language itself.
Right.
So it must sound human somehow, like in also slightly, but it has to sound human. Otherwise, the data was very poor quality. Yeah. But the thing about what is human quality, this is exactly what is the aim of our certification, is we want our linguistic data coming out, the linguistic output coming out of a generative AI tool, to be certified and to have the guarantee that the same exact text, the same exact language could have been written by a human being. And who can do that? Only human beings, because only a human being is able to say, well, yeah, I could have written that also.
Right.
And I think that this is what comes down to human quality. It's like, I often use ChatGPT, for instance, and one of the things that I've noticed that it's a recurrent request I make to the machine. It's like, can you rephrase this?
Yeah.
Being more native, like a native speaker in this language, in Italian or in English, and you actually see that change quite good, like it already gives a more human structure to sentences, but still I think that that's only acceptable in my daily life, if I have, I don't know, let's say to review an email. But if you think about a company like Creative Words, where our core business is language and linguistic output, we cannot afford only native and native similar structure of sentences made by technology. And this is why we decided to standardize and to regulate somehow our workflows that include the AI tools, basically.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about that. For those of you watching, listening, I put a link into chat so you can follow along at home. But here on the Creative Words website, I'm just going to read this here. Creative Words Human Approved Certification. And get that chat out of the way. In response to the challenges posed by AI and generative AI, Creative Words has introduced a unique solution, the Human Approved Certification. This seal, and there's a logo, I love the logo. Leave it to you Italians for good design principles. Highlights the undeniable competence, creativity, and cultural understanding of language professionals. Our team has outlined a systematic set of processes that begin with integration of AIPE, artificial intelligence post-editing, through the creation of standardized editing procedures and outputs the scientific evaluation of what works and what doesn't. And here we have 3 bullet points here. AIPE, so that's artificial intelligence post-editing integration. Our professionals undergo extensive training on how to leverage the intelligent tools at their disposal to fully exploit the potential of artificial intelligence and improve post-editing and natural language processing skills or tasks. Second bullet point, standardization. Defining standard procedures facilitates communication between humans and machines, allowing professionals to develop awareness and critically evaluate AI outputs. And lastly, evaluation and validation. In defining the limits of technology and managing expectations by emphasizing the value that people provide, it is important to identify where the human touch is inestimable. On this first point here, AIPE, so artificial intelligence post-editing. And I'm old enough to remember when machine translation post-editing was just coming around, right? And
Mhm.
it's a different skill set, right? Post-editing is a different skill set than translation. You can't just take any old translator and throw them at a post-editing project. I remember developing workshops and trainings for how to train translators to efficiently post-edit because it's different. And just like editing is a different skill set, and just like QA is a different skill set. Talk to me a little bit about this training. You say our professionals undergo extensive training on how to leverage the intelligent tools at their disposal to fully exploit the potential of artificial intelligence and improve post-editing and natural language processing tasks.
Absolutely. As you said, post-editing is a different task than translation, and machine translation post-editing differs from AI post-editing. Why? Because the nature itself of the text that is the output out of the machine comes from a different type of technology, from different processing data. So we have identified this lack of education in this sense, and we have developed internally a course focused on AI post-editing and AI content reviewer. So we have in the team an AI language specialist that is the person who's in charge of analyzing texts, basically, to provide the machine the most accurate data possible to reach the expected output that we want to achieve. So this person, the AI language specialist, has studied AI outputs, text outputs, and has drafted, it's sort of like a style guide, basically, but in an educational way, of the major issues and concerns that evolve around an AI product, textual product, identifying, of course, like there are everybody, when we ask something to a Gen AI, most of the times it's clear as water that it doesn't work, but again, having this as our core business, we cannot limit ourselves to, okay, well, that sounds quite good. It has to be perfect.
Yeah.
It has to be 100% accurate.
Exactly.
And how can we do this? We can only do this if we know what we are looking for. If we know what are the issues, what are the problems that could happen in an AI workflow, and that will end up in flaws into the AI output. Only in that way, only being critical, I think is that the word? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Being critical
Yes.
towards the text, but knowing with the awareness of the process that the text has undergone, only in that way we can reach, or at least hope to reach, the 100% accuracy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of it, so I've got small children, right? And right now, AI is in the stage of having like a 6-year-old, where if you want the 6-year-old to do some work, like I was having my 7-year-old fold laundry the other day.
Cutie pie.
We're in the phase, yes, it's adorable, but we're in the phase where asking my 7-year-old to fold laundry requires a lot more work from me than if I just folded the dang laundry. Or, you know what I'm saying? Because I have to show them how to do it. I have to check the work. I have to come back, right? And I feel like we're
Mhm.
kind of in that phase of teaching a 7-year-old to fold laundry with AI. We're figuring out what can it do, what can't it do, what inputs does it need from me, what coaching, does it need from me, and then double checking the work at the end to make sure that it was done okay.
This is what we call the feedback loop.
Yeah.
So everything that like all our AI workflows are within a feedback loop. So each step of the pipeline is connected to the others over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So we start with and the most important part is, of course, the AI post-editing part is important, but especially at the very beginning of implementing a workflow, because in the end, it will be the minor part. It will always be there, always. Like it's one of my, I'm completely obsessed over the human in the loop approach. Like I want human beings to be involved at all stages, every time.
Yeah.
Like everywhere. So the AI post editor will always be there. But in how I see it, in my utopia, no, I'm kidding. It's not a utopia. It's just like what
I
I
try
want
not
to
to use
achieve.
words like utopia and AI in the same sentence. Because, one man's utopia.
No, exactly. No, it's not utopia. It's just like what I want to achieve and what we want to achieve. I want to speak like plural. What we want to achieve is having the very last bit of the workflow of the pipeline being the very important, but not time consuming. Because the most time consuming in a positive way. I'm not quite sure if time consuming can also be considered positive, but the most, the part where we want to invest the most is the very initial part, is the part where language is analyzed and all the conditions are set clear for the machine to perform correctly how we want the machine to perform. And this can only happen within a feedback loop. So we start with something, and then there is feedback, and feedback goes back to the very beginning, so that at the beginning, so that the first time or the first 100 times, we will have to spend hours and hours teaching the machine how to do those things, although we could do them much faster. Yeah. But at the end, in the long term, we will have all the basics, like we will have the ground perfectly strong for the machine to perform fast and for us to not even think about doing it ourselves. I don't know. I got kind of like confused at foundation.
I'm picking up what you're putting down for sure. And this, I'm bring our attention to a chat. Where's the chat? Over here. From Islam Yunus. You must have amazing AI prompting engineers to reach such goals. But where does most of the work lie so far? With prompt engineers or post editors? And because you're talking about the cycle, right? So at this stage, is where are you prioritizing the work, or what takes the most time, the back end or the front end?
At this stage, pretty much
really quickly. Sorry, I get ahead of myself here. For the audience, what is prompt engineering? Can you
prompt
define
engineering?
That for
so
us?
how do we interact with a generative AI tool? We write prompts. Prompts are, let's say, commands that we give the machine, are indications we give the machine to perform how we want the machine to perform. And prompting is the word around this big category of tasks, of actions. So writing a prompt means writing a command to feed the machine to generate the expected outcome. So I think that at this stage of 2023, I would say that pretty much everybody has written a prompt. Of course, there are ways in which you can write it more effectively, and ways in which it's completely useless. I often write prompts that are useless myself. Like sometimes I'm just like there super fast, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. But in the same way in which I like this metaphor between humans and machines data and humans book. So, and I like it very much also in this sense, like writing prompts, it's like teaching a child how to do something, what to do and how to do that, So we want to be as specific as possible. We want to create those we want to create the prompt, to create the command, to guide hand in hand the child to perform as best as possible. And in the same way, we want to learn how to communicate with the machine, because like writing a prompt is basically the only way we can interact with the machine. So, and that's prompt. Like
Thank you for the explanation.
I would say that.
Yeah, I like to think of it like for those with AI, interacting with an AI. We've been doing it for a while. Those of us that have had an Amazon Alexa, I don't want to say it too loud because she's listening all the time. But if you're interacting with like an Alexa or a Google Home or anything like that, it's it's like, what can I say? How do I structure my inputs?
Exactly.
Because if I say, hey, what kind of day is it going to be today? It's going to be like, it's not going to know what to do. But I need to ask, hey, what will the weather be today? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I put a link for folks if you want to check it out. And Nimdzi's not the only one, but there's a number of guides out there on prompt engineering. A lot of people have written about it. So Nimdzi, of course, has thrown our hat into the ring as well. But anyways, okay, thanks for the tangent about prompt engineering. We were talking about prioritizing the front end or the back end, prompt engineering versus the review.
At this stage, I would say that they're equally, that we invest equally on each of them. For the reason, the reason is because we are, despite being quite ahead in researching in the field, we really want to set the solid ground. So we are also testing ways to evaluate the outputs. We're testing ways to evaluate what we do at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end, so that we can keep on improving. We are working daily with AI workflows and pipelines, but for sure we are growing into it ourselves. So every time we have to do something, and every time we kick off with a project that involves the whole pipeline, that is not like the time when we rediscuss everything that we have done so far. Also because technology goes so fast that it's always like, also, it's not strange to find out new ways of doing something that were not there until the week before. So at the moment, I think that we invest as much at the beginning as and at the end of the workflow. But in the future, like ideally, it will be mostly at the beginning, and then the workflow goes.
It's much more of a check. I think in my mind, we want to get to the trust and verify stage, right? Where we largely trust the AI, but we're just doing sanity checks on it. We're not having to completely review it. Is that unrealistic?
Well, not really, if you consider that machine learning works because it learns from its own data and from the data that you give it, that you continually give it. So as many data, the more data we give the machine, the more the machine will improve and learn what we are teaching the machine itself. So that's the reason why ideally, in the end, the final checks will be like the guarantee of quality, but will not have to be time consuming, because ideally it will only have to be a read through, a proofreading of what has been created by the machine, you know? Well, whereas now sometimes we have to rediscuss everything that has happened, because we end up with results that are not acceptable for one reason or the other.
You have to refold the socks.
Exactly. But that's also the fun part, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I like to be
adorable.
optimistic.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I had a question I wanted to ask you. So, when we're talking about here's what it is. When we're talking about AI, I just realized, we've been dealing with a form of AI in machine translation for quite a while, particularly neural machine translation, right, here in the language services industry. So I would argue that the language services industry has much more experience using AI than other industries do that are just now getting started into it. How do you foresee the future of generative AI encroaching upon machine translation, neural machine translation? Do you envision a future where there's going to actually be less translation and people are just going to be using generative AI to create localized versions of things? So instead of having an English source text and then translating that into 10 different languages, we're going to be using generative AI, of course, to create that source text or help create that source text. And why not just have the generative AI say, all right, write this podcast intro for me in English, and then telling it, now write it in French and Spanish and German. So it's not a one-to-one. Do you understand what I'm saying? Am I being clear?
Yes. It's like a rewriting in another language.
Or
basically.
writing from scratch in another language.
Generating content.
Yeah, I'm thinking particularly for
language.
marketing, right? Because marketing has a lot of cultural nuances and things. So rather than, creating the perfect United States marketing campaign that's really going to speak to, marketing, your users in the United States, and then translating that into German, and there's going to be something lost in translation, why not just have the AI generate content for the German markets as well? Do you see that being a thing?
It all comes down to prompt engineering, if you think about it.
Right.
We can only achieve this if we're good enough at understanding how the machine works and how we can teach the machine and ask the machine to do that task. Everything is everything is pretty much doable, like that's scary.
Yes.
But that's also, if you think about it, a great opportunity. But we just have to be able, and we just have to be conscious and aware on how to interact with the machine, to ask the machine to do something in the way that we think that the machine could understand better, to lead to the results that we want to receive.
Right.
But that goes down to the education, to what we were talking about before. So an education and training in AI, in responsible AI, in the correct and ethical use of AI is crucial to be able to actually empower people to use AI on their own. And that goes completely against my my business, but no, but that's
well, I
true.
was gonna. My next
actually...
question is going to be, what advice would you have for your competitors? Basically, sorry, Diego. But before we get to that, just a comment from me is that one thing that I find fascinating about AI, and this is my advice that I give to people. I say, I'm talking to project managers. Use AI. Don't wait for your boss to tell you how to use AI. Because AI is something, I think a lot of the conversations we're having in the industry are at this level up here, like the VP and director level of how are we going to implement AI for our organization. But really, in my mind, like the Chat GPT, the chatbots, the ones that are publicly accessible now, can start down here. And I can't tell you how many workshops I give on communication skills for project managers, right? I'm sorry if many listeners have probably sat through one of my workshops on communication skills for project managers. Well, if you're a project manager, here's your new workshop. Get a subscription to ChatGPT. Get a subscription to Cloud AI. Get a subscription and use it to help you write your emails, right? And it's something that can happen from the ground up. You don't need to wait for your boss to come and tell you how to use AI. Because frankly, no offense to the bosses out there, I'm a boss too. Frankly, your boss is probably going to have some pretty silly ideas on how AI is going to be implemented. It's better to use it yourself and figure out how to use it, figure out how to leverage it to make you better at your job.
I totally agree. And here in Creative Arts, Diego has been straightforward. He was like, from this day on, we're going to start using AI.
Yeah.
Everybody will start using Gen AI, of course,
Good.
like in our daily tasks, because other than that, like our AI services, for instance, there's in our team, we work specifically for that. But everybody here in Creative Arts uses generative AI just to ease the process, you know?
How? Like practically, what does that look like? And it's one thing to say, like, yes, everyone uses Gen AI. Practically, what are they using it for? Are they using it to write emails? Are they using it to analyze word count logs? Or
I give out an innovation newsletter once a week within internally. And in each newsletter, we put the prompt of the week, which is supposed to be an idea on how to use AI to optimize or lean everyday processes. So I know for sure that people use it for emails, for sure. Our marketing department uses it also to support their content generation and content creation. It's a super
great
tool for brainstorming.
Yeah, it's great for marketing. It's great for brainstorming.
Yeah. It's great. Like recently we gave out a prompt for analyzing. No, actually it was creating Excel sheets. Like it was so all that.
Create a markdown table. Yeah,
exactly.
Took me way too long to figure out that prompt.
Exactly. And now you simply go on ChatGPT and you say, in the way in which it understands, you say, I need to create this table with this, and that, and I need this to be linked to the other one, and so on and so forth. And it gives you out exactly the formula that you need to add.
It's great. Yeah,
that is great.
I took like a bunch of Excel files that I had, and I trained it because I'm too lazy to write a macro. I don't know how to write a macro, and just fed it to the thing and said, create a table summarizing everything together. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And if I think about it, hours and hours when I was at a university with the courses on how to use Excel effectively.
So this is making me obsolete. So like two things that I've been like known for at the different places that I worked was my Excel. I can write a formula or two, not to brag. Right? But who cares? It's 2023. Who cares? Like, no one cares if I can write a formula. The second thing that I was always really good at was taking really good meeting notes. So during a meeting, obsolete, because nowadays everything's automatically transcribed and you just summarize this and it spits out, here's your action items, here's the bullet points. So I haven't taken meeting notes for a very long time.
Well, but I think that we also must be careful to not going extreme. I'm a super supporter of AI helping and supporting our daily activities. Like I always say that AI should take off our shoulders like the monkey work that we do, But there are things that I think still have, like, if we focus on value, like there are things that are more valuable if we keep on doing them on our own. Like, it's not that using it, like deciding to use AI in a daily work life in a company means that nothing will be done by hand anymore. It's not that. It's understand. It's way more complicated, actually. I think it's a matter of understanding where can we take where can we get value by using AI, and where can we actually give value to what we do by doing it on our own. And most
Right.
of the times, actually, like
What is
the
your,
truth
as a
lies in
human,
between.
what is your unique value proposition? You know what I'm saying?
What you like in my daily life, you
No,
mean,
no, no. I mean, just
or
like rhetorical question. Like, we need to figure out, like, I am a human being. Where can I add value that the machines can't, right? And if it's something that can be handled by a machine, let the machine do it. Where can I add the most value, and let the machines do the monkey work, as you say, so that I can focus on adding value?
I think that it always, like, to me, everything that goes around, like that goes about originality, creativity, but generally speaking, I wouldn't say, like, as I was saying before, the truth lies in between. So I still see support from the AI, like artificial intelligence supports me every day in whatever I do, basically.
Yep.
What the machine cannot do is is starting off from my ideas. So my input is invaluable, as well as the final that's not even focused on the final. It's actually my input that is invaluable. And that's why I do not even agree when I hear linguists saying, well, like AI, generative AI, my job is done. I have worked as computational linguist for a couple of years, and that's when I understood that the human input is actually fundamental.
Yeah.
And I doubt that we'll reach a point in which that is obsolete,
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just chuckling at Diego in the comments here.
What does it say?
He says, I confirm Marta's input is invaluable. Diego.
Thank you, Diego.
I want to get, before we go on, I see one comment here from Diego responded to. Yeah, I don't have the big ones. My system got all messed up today. But from Lawson Stapleton. Lawson, if you're listening, hi, how's it going? I haven't talked to you for a while, and that's my fault. I apologize for that. But Lawson Stapleton, thanks for your comment. So this is Diego responding to Lawson. Since Marta is busy, hope you don't mind if I add my 2 cents. It might seem a marketing initiative. However, it's really a bot. It's really not, maybe. First, AI and MT are not the same. Well, not always. This means that linguists need to upskill and add new skills to their toolkit. AI makes mistakes, just as MT, but most times different ones. No reassurance here, more explaining that linguists have a place in this world if they change. Again, sorry. Yeah, well, it's reality. And also a response to the lack or regulations around AI processed content. And last, human approved is before, during, and after AI, contrary to post editing. Happy to continue the conversation. Yeah.
I assume that the main point was brought out was concerning the marketing of human approved.
Well, there's a whole, if I knew Lawson was listening, I would have asked you about like long tail languages and under-resourced languages and all that stuff. But maybe you need to come back on for it because we're running out of time for that. Because that's a whole different, and we're talking about, then we get into conversations of like language equity and stuff like that, because AI depends upon data. And there's the majority of languages that exist in the world do not have enough data to train AI. And so I think that's where we're going to start seeing advancements improve over the next years. But if you have thoughts on it, solve the problem of worldwide language equity. You've got 2 minutes. Go.
No, that's something that's too fragile and too.
That's another podcast.
Yeah.
You, me, and
absolutely.
Lawson. We'll get Lawson on here to talk about it.
No, but jokes apart, I was part of a very nice panel in Rome in September, and this thing about language minorities and the lack of data to train AI systems for specific languages, it's actually creating a gap between the West and like the West world and all the minor locales, basically.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I do not have to, like, I do not deal with this specific type of languages, never. So I wouldn't feel even comfortable in giving my 2 cents here. I was part of the panel, and in the panel,
part of the problem.
Exactly. I am totally part of the problem, but like we're all part of the problem. But I think that we can also shift our mentality in thinking, okay, why is this happening? And of course, this is something I would like to stress. I mean, we cannot all do everything, you know? I mean, it would be super nice. It would be great. But I don't even take that as a fault, not being able to address the question concerning ethical concerns and minority languages. It's just reality. There are thousands, maybe not, but many companies, well, could be more, as always, but many companies who deal with this daily, and thanks to their job, possibly this gap will be filled at some point. But I do not take as a fault not being able to answer. So sorry.
And there's a role of academia.
The question, but I much rather be transparent than trying to come up with an answer I don't even know myself.
No, it's fine. And there's a role, I think, for academia to play in that now as well. It's because there's not always a profit incentive to localize into some languages and train some engines.
You know, it's a very delicate topic, because it's also a very, very, very thin line between filling the gap and exploiting. Because, you know, like but let's not even dive into
I was going to say, just why do people always start leaving comments 5 minutes before the podcasts? Guys, you had a whole hour. All right, Edwin Trebles, I appreciate the effort to have a human-approved seal and standardize its processes, because with high-impact content, we would require nothing less. In fact, typically, it's humans approved, plural. It seems like every LSP TMS should adopt such high-quality practices and features. Hear, Edwin.
Sorry. You know, I've actually, because this is something that we really truly believe in, and we have actually got into contact with international organizations to understand whether this can be something that can be brought upper, you know? Internally, I have drafted a sort of standard for the human approved that defines step by step what each step entails and how the pipeline should go forward. So anybody who's interested in chatting about it, I am more than, I don't know if that was something I could do.
You need to, I think I told you this last time, and I told you I'd probably make introductions, and I probably forgot about it. You need to talk to Bill Rivers. And there's a whole, the associations that I derided in the first 10 minutes. No, there's associations working on this, and they're creating certificate. I'll make introductions afterwards. But yeah, Dr. Bill Rivers is who you need to talk to. Kyle Chow, how has customer reception been since introducing? Well, no, let's go back to Edwin here. Edwin, in my mind, creating a proper evaluation process that includes SLM or LLM is really strategically not different from any transition evaluation process, but simply only differs in tactics. Even creating a feedback loop would follow that logical flow. It just feeds back into AI rather than only being involved once in the workflow, right? Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it's kind of a process that we're familiar with. It's training MT engines, right? It's just adapting it to train. I know I'm grossly oversimplifying it.
No, but I mean, it all goes down to technology. I mean, we have MPPE and we have AIPE. We will have AIPE. I mean, the professional figure of the AI post editor and content reviewer does not officially exist. We create it on our own because we defined the standard of our human approved certification, and we wanted that last step to be given to a professional who had awareness of what they were doing. So, I mean, technology is technology. It's just a different technology. But after MT, there was no other technology that came into the field. So but not so much as ChatGPT. So
I hear what you're saying.
like, but it's just like understanding how, like understanding the technology itself. But totally, I mean, that's technology it's a big umbrella, and it all falls under.
All right, last comment, and then I'm cutting you off, chat, from Kyle Chow, and I think I saved this one because this is a great one for you to kind of give us a plug on how it's doing and all that stuff. Kyle Chow asked, how has customer reception been since introducing your human approved certification? Have you seen changes? So talk to us a little bit about how this has affected your customers. What about, who are your customers? Customers that are interested in working with an organization like yours with the seal of approval, the human approved seal. How can they get in contact with you? All of that stuff.
I have three scenarios. The first one is customers who already existing customers who for chance or for upselling of our sales department have been introduced our AI services and therefore our human approved workflow. And they decided that they wanted to take a shot. And so they did. Then we have new customers who like from scratch. We like, something I'm really also strict about is that I want to have an approach to AI that is as transparent as possible. Mm-hmm. And I want that approach to be completely shared, like 360 with the people I'm interacting with. So usually what happens is that when somebody comes to us interested into our AI services, what we do is that we want to take the decision together. So the first time that they hear AI, they're not quite convinced. But then if that's why I think that I know that this is what brings us value. When they hear about our human in the loop approach, when they hear about the fact that we have actually put it like black and white, we have written down, and this is, although it's not an official standard, this is the standard that we follow every time we have an AI pipeline. And when they understand that we have control, we have control for as much as we can have control over a machine working, but when they understand that we have control over the pipeline, they're willing, they're open to testing. And I say testing because before proposing to anybody a sort of AI workflow, we always want to test it together, because I want the decision to including AI or not including AI to be fully on our customers' hands, in our customers' hands. I do not want to impose, of course, but of course, given the control of the pipeline, given the control of the output, and given the let's talk clearly, given the reduction in times and costs of the services, usually we get good feedback.
Well said. All right, I think on that note, we can take us out. Marta, any other closing thoughts?
Thank you so much. No, it was very nice. My second time was great.
Your second time. Well, here's to your third time. You've got my number anytime.
On ethics and
ethics. Oh.
Ethnicity.
Yeah, I'll have to get some qualified guests in there. I don't know if I can talk about ethics of AI.
I'll have to get prepared.
Yeah.
No, exactly. But jokes apart. Thank you so much. It was great.
I'll have to ask ChatGPT for help writing those questions. So
last thing, but in drafting the human approved standard, I forced myself not to use ChatGPT, and it was incredible. After months of asking ChatGPT to write everything, it was great.
Yeah.
But goes back to the sense of it.
It does. All right, I got a hard stop, so I gotta go. Thank you so much, Marta.
Thank you.
I'm gonna take us out here.
Talk to you soon.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate our guest today, Marta Castello from Creative Words and Creative AI, I should say. I appreciate all my colleagues here at Nimdzi Insights doing the hard work to educate and improve our industry. I appreciate you, the audience, who are joining us live today, and I appreciate the dialogue in chat. Everybody who left comments, questions, and especially criticisms. And I look forward to next time. Cheers.
Thank you.